Fuck that! You can't shoot me in front of my baby, you fucking pig!
He said he was sort of ready,
but
he doesn't care until,
fuck you, stupid fucking pig! I'm on private property! I was on private property! Your ID! For what? For what? You have no rights! Bullshit! I took you bullshit! Hell, that's not true! I have my seatbelt on, you fucking right!
We just put up the full screen here, what he said last night.
I fucking beat on the ground!
Stop! You have no right! You're on private property!
It's making it worse.
And then you have another 16 in 2 weeks, and then, as you know, we have $200 billion in advance, and then after the $200 billion,
He's not black.
Take out your ID! Fuck you, you stupid fucking bitch! There's my fucking license, you piece of shit! You wanna pull a gun on me in front of my fucking kid? I'll fucking kill you, fucking ass, you stupid fucking bitch!
Gets in the car.
Fuck you! Next time you're eating fucking ass,
Our problem has been, as black people, we've always been concerned about white America, never about us. And what we've always thought is that white America equal the same interest as us. That is not true. We must now be concerned with us. Let me give you some examples. We always want to prove what good Americans we are. The very first man to die for the War of Independence in this country was a black man named Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks. He was a fool. Because here he was dying for white folk freedom, and millions of his brothers were enslaved in the very country. Oh, but we wanted to prove what great Americans we were. We begged the white folk to let us fight in the War of Independence, and they said no. So we organized ourselves in bands of armies, training ourselves with our bare foot to prove to the white folk what great Americans we were. Please let us fight, white folk. And finally they came and inspected our troops and said, good niggers, you can fight. And they had us fighting the Indians. Like fools, we should have teamed up with the Indians and take care of you know who.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, what I don't understand is why have black people or melanated people all throughout history have been so docile, peaceful, loving, forgiving of the dominant society? From day one, Europeans have taken our kindness for weakness, yet we continue to do the same thing over and over and over. When Europeans first showed up in Africa, they accepted them with open arms. They gave them gifts. They gave them knowledge. For whatever reason, we've always accepted them. And look how that worked out for them. When the Europeans came to the Americas, they accepted them with open arms. They gave them gifts. And they used their kindness against them, committing genocide, enslaving the people. From day one, they have always taken advantage of our kindness. They've taken advantage of whatever warm spot we've had in our heart for them. From day one, we embraced them faster than we would embrace some tribes that look just like us. We feel the need to educate and celebrate everybody's culture but our own. But we have a problem forgiving ourselves. We're quick to forgive everybody except for the people who look like us. We're too busy defending everybody else to defend ourselves. We defend everybody else's rights and culture but our own. Even when it comes to America, we'll put our capes on the fastest and defend it the hardest. We fought in every single war to defend America. And I can even maybe understand the first two. In the Revolutionary War, where America won its freedom, America, who was the rebels, and George Washington was losing the war. He didn't want to arm black people at first. He had no other choice but to offer black people freedom to help them fight the war. That's how a lot of the northern states ended up being free territories. They didn't want to. They had no choice. Of course, he lied and sent them right back to slavery after the war was over. But I can understand how black people would join that war, even though before then they had already seen how they were for 200 plus years. And again, with the Civil War, neither side wanted to arm black people because, again, they were in fear of black people with guns. But of course, after Lincoln and the North was getting their ass kicked by the South, he had no other choice but to take a page out of George Washington's playbook and offer black people freedom to help them fight the South. Which, of course, the 13th Amendment didn't end slavery, only started mass incarceration and gave birth to the school-to-prison pipeline. And every war after that, I do not understand why black people still feel the need to defend a country that treats you the way that they do and then justifies it. We fight to be included in a system designed to hurt us, while America fights to keep us out. But then in a time of need, America talks about unity. And then we constantly cape for America. We go above and beyond to protect and defend America. And then when America hurts us, we can't think to do anything but protest and march to defend ourselves. In Milwaukee, an unarmed brother, Jerry Smith Jr., was shot by the police. Now let's see how this unarmed brother ended up getting shot by police.
He doesn't have a gun in his hand, but he was hiding behind an AC unit. I got him covered right here if you're going to jump up. Put your hands in the air! Do it now! Get your hands in the air! Do it now! Turn around! Turn around! Get down! Do not fucking move! Do not fucking move! Do not move! Do not fucking move! Stay down! I got him! You're good, you're good! Hey! Go, police, go! Help me! Help me! Hey! Come on! Help him! We have an ambulance. Subject. 3269. Where's the gun?
I'm terrified. The video itself shows that my son had his hands up when he was shot.
A cell phone captured the standoff between LaTanya Hyde's son and Milwaukee police yesterday afternoon. And the gunfire that sent her son to the hospital. Police say they chased Jerry Smith Jr. because he fit the description of a man with a gun, though they haven't said if they found a weapon. His mom says officers won't let her see her son because he's in custody at the hospital. They've told her he was shot twice, once in the head.
Jerry is fine. That's what they said. And my son is fine. That's not enough for a mother to sleep at night, you know what I'm saying?
Hyde hasn't been able to talk to his doctors.
I want to talk to the doctors today. They won't let me know anything that's going on with my son. My son's laying in that hospital room suffering, and he can't even have his mother there with him.
MPD released this update, quote, "The person who was shot remains hospitalized and MPD continues to investigate." That worries Smith's mom, too, because Milwaukee police is investigating itself instead of an independent agency.
It's not fair. And I want somebody to investigate these police officers that did this to my baby. It's not right.
Now, MPD did not respond to questions about whether it would ask an independent agency to investigate about why Smith is in custody in the hospital, or if it's standard policy to keep doctors from speaking to family members who are in custody in a hospital setting. The hospital, for its part, says it would be up to MPD to facilitate that kind of communication.
So according to the police, they were responding to a call about an armed man, and the brother Jerry Smith Jr. supposedly fit the description. Of course, we all seem to fit this vague description. But before the police got there was a fight. But this brother Jerry Smith Jr. was the one who got jumped, and somebody else had a knife. But when the police pulled up, they jumped out with their guns out, yelling for him to drop the gun. Of course, they had the wrong person. This brother didn't even have a gun, but he panicked and he ran. So they chased him up to the roof, and you can hear one cop say he doesn't have a gun. So they are aware. And as they approach him, he does comply. Because they always say just comply like a good Negro and nothing bad will happen. But as he starts to lay down on the ground, they shot him anyway. Officer Melvin Finkley fired one shot. And then the second officer, Adam Stahl, fired another shot because he said he thought it was this brother who was shooting. Originally, the police said he was reaching for a gun behind the AC unit. And he feared for his life, so he shot him, including one bullet grazing his head. Now on the video, you can see how far away from the AC unit he is. You can clearly see he's unarmed and complying. And then after they shoot him, they talking about don't move. Like getting shot not supposed to hurt us or something. And while he's laying there bleeding, screaming in pain, they cuff him and start asking him where's the guns. Of course, no guns were ever found because he didn't have any guns. And this brother Jerry Smith Jr. wasn't even charged with a crime, but he still ended up shot. And as usual, the police decided they should investigate this case themselves.
The officers who shot Jerry Smith Jr. last year told investigators they thought he was reaching for a gun. Someone told officers Smith was armed because of this fight moments before the shooting. It's new video provided by Smith's legal team. But they tell us Smith was the one getting attacked and never had a gun. You can see someone holding a large knife. And according to an incident report also provided by Smith's team, a witness pointed out that knife to an officer, and the officer kicked the knife in the sewer. Smith's team points to the new information as evidence of a cover-up because no gun was ever found.
Nobody saw this young man with a gun. Milwaukee PD knew about all of this, and they covered it all up because they didn't care. They were trying to justify the shooting of this young man.
More than a year later, Smith still has visible and emotional scars.
It's been all right, but at the same time, I've been going through a struggle. You know, I can't work no more. You know, I can't pick up, can't even carry like 30 pounds, you know what I'm saying, about my leg going in and out on me, you know what I'm saying? So it's been a struggle, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, my people got my back.
The Milwaukee County DA's office cleared the two officers this year, but Smith's team now wants a federal grand jury to look at the case.
And we also reached out to Milwaukee Police's communications team as well as the city attorney's office. Neither has responded to our request to respond to those cover-up claims. Meanwhile, Smith has already filed a federal civil rights lawsuit in this case. That is still pending here at federal court.
Now, the body camera the cop was wearing himself shows he was clearly lying about what he said. They knew he didn't have a gun. He wasn't anywhere near no AC unit to reach for a gun. No gun was even at the scene. And the police had this video for over a year before they had to release it because of a lawsuit. Not because they were doing the right thing. They already knew this brother was the one who got beat up. They knew about somebody else being armed with a knife, not even a gun. They even kicked the evidence down the sewer. This brother had not committed a crime. He didn't have a record. He didn't have any drugs. He was the victim of an assault. And when he started complying, the police shot him. But to no surprise, the DA Kent Lovern found the shooting justified.
The unarmed man shot by two Milwaukee police officers who chased him onto a roof last year wants federal prosecutors to investigate his case. The Milwaukee County DA's office cleared both men of wrongdoing over the summer. Pete Zervakis reports on the latest developments.
The steps of the federal courthouse, Jerry Smith Jr. called on the U.S. attorney to investigate whether two MPD officers violated his civil rights in August 2017.
We just asking for the U.S. attorney to get involved to look at stuff.
Smith Jr. is 20. He's been unable to work and now walks with a cane since MPD officers Adam Stahl and Melvin Finkley shot him on a roof near 29th and Wisconsin. They chased him up there after a witness claimed he could be armed. He was not. Police body camera video captured the shooting.
I never wanted to go through this. I ain't asked for this.
In a letter to the police chief in June, the DA's office writes the officers reasonably believed Smith Jr. was armed. The letter says Finkley saw Smith Jr. standing near an air conditioner and perceived that Mr. Smith was reaching for a weapon concealed behind the air conditioning unit, so he fired his gun. It continues. Officer Stahl heard the first shot fired by Officer Finkley, but perceived it as the subject firing, so he fired also.
I was nowhere near the vent. didn't have a gun.
Smith Jr.'s legal team is frustrated MPD investigated its own shooting and thinks federal authorities would provide more accountability.
We need independent eyes on this because there's just too much that's gone wrong here.
In a statement, MPD told us it takes officer-involved shootings very seriously. The department did do its own internal investigation and decided no discipline was merited against either of the officers involved.
Now, this brother wasn't even charged with anything, and now he's disabled. But because he didn't die, and the bullet that grazed his head wasn't an inch in the other direction, the police can investigate themselves and not bring anybody from the outside to investigate. Not that it really matters. But just because he didn't die, the police can now investigate themselves. And they found none of these cops even deserve to be punished at all. Now, the cop officer Melvin Finkley, who was the first cop who fired and then handcuffed him after he shot him, is obviously a black cop. Now, they'll allow a black cop to hurt other black people and get away with it. But I want to see you try that on a white boy in the same situation and see what happens. For some reason, black cops know better not to make that mistake on white kids. It's a completely different result. White cops raid a house, the wrong house, and shoot a 7-year-old girl, Aiyana Jones, while she's sleeping. No cop get punished. A black cop shoots a 6-year-old white boy because their dad has him in the high-speed chase. He gets 40 years. They will allow black cops to enforce white supremacy on black people. And a number of black cops joined to do just that. But you cannot change the system from the inside. We are trained to hate ourselves. We have been taught that from an early age. At some point, we gotta learn our lesson and learn how to stand up for ourselves. And most importantly, learn how to protect ourselves. As much as we care for everybody else, at the end of the day, we are all we got. But until we realize that, we'll continue to be in the same position.
That was some disturbing video of a violent clash between a police officer and a 14-year-old girl at a Florida mall. ABC's Janae Norman with the latest.
Tonight, this cell phone video showing a Florida police officer repeatedly punching a 14-year-old girl on her side is going viral. The teenage girl's mom is furious, saying her daughter was pinned on the ground with her arms underneath her while the officer struck her. The girl was then taken away in a police vehicle.
Back up. Oh my God, I was furious. What he did was not justified at all. He totally was wrong.
According to authorities, officers were called to the Coral Square Mall Thursday about a group of unruly teens, issued a trespass warning barring the teens from the mall, but they returned. Then officers say the 14-year-old girl began acting aggressively and resisting arrest and wouldn't release her clenched fists. They say the officers' actions were within policy, legal, and not excessive.
What you see on video is the officer delivering some strikes, distraction strikes, to an area where she has her hands concealed underneath her. The officers don't know what she may have in her possession. That's a concern.
But the girl's mom says the officer involved should be fired.
He went totally overboard because she wasn't resisting. They want to make us accountable for our actions. They need to be accountable for their actions.
And Tom, that girl's mom isn't alone in wanting accountability. Now a Florida state representative is calling for police to release the body cam footage of the incident, but so far, no word on whether they will.
This year, man. Let's step back. I just asked why y'all detaining him.
He lives here.
He's clearly...
This is our neighbor. So what are you doing?
Quit the shit then.
He's under the influence. Calm down. He lives here.
Y'all making an excuse, man.
Not who we were
Y'all making a
about.
bullshit excuse.
He is not under the influence. What are you talking about? He lives here.
Actually, he was helping the person that was under the influence.
And he told us
So why are you detaining him?
He is not
That's the
under
only thing y'all not telling us. Why y'all detaining him for?
We're in the middle of something.
Right, but you're giving us a full conversation.
You're not helping the person who needs the help. The man is unconscious on the floor over here. Why aren't you helping
Why
the
y'all
person?
detaining him?
What are you doing? That makes no sense.
Like,
Why
you have no right. You have no right for this. Is he under arrest?
This man is unconscious.
Is he under arrest?
The man is he's unconscious on the floor.
Is
Why
he
aren't
under
you
arrest?
helping the person we call for you to help? Under arrest,
For
we call for you to help. Under arrest,
For what? What is he under arrest for? What is he under arrest for, officer?
Why aren't you
There's his father.
helping the
We'll talk to his
person?
dad.
Right, what is he under arrest
We'll
for?
talk to his father. We don't answer to you.
Well, I'm a citizen. I pay actually.
man is unconscious.
We pay for you. You understand that? If I'm the one that called for the person that was unconscious.
All right, so you can live like that?
Why would you do
And
that?
fuck with people like that?
Oh my gosh! That's why he's in handcuffs. And then you're making assumptions.
Just calm down.
He's not resisting anything.
He's not resisting.
He didn't break any laws, man. He was actually helping the person that was unconscious out here.
Bring another white person so you won't feel safe. Is that what you mean?
Right. Can we have your names and your badge numbers, officers? Can we have your names and your badge numbers?
Put your hands behind your back! Put your hands behind your back! Ground. You're under arrest.
Get down, get down.
For what? Do it now, you get it again. For what? Put your hands. You're under arrest for using a fake tweet.
You got ID with you, partner?
Yeah, I got ID with me. It's probably somewhere around here, but
I need to see it.
bro, you can see it whenever. I don't care, bro. Like, I want to get ready.
Put your hands behind your back.
I'm showing you my ID.
I don't care about your ID right now. Put your hands behind your back.
For what? My ID.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Ground.
Then he starts pulling away and trying to run. So we're trying to get him on the ground, and he was fighting. I had enough reason to detain him, and he was completely fighting.
You're under arrest.
Get down, get down.
For what? Put your hands behind your back.
We then showed them pictures of a black man and a white man. What were some comments about the black man?
He looks mean. FBI most wanted. He looks weird. He looks like he's a basketball player.
So, tell me about this guy. Does he seem like a nice person?
I think he's nice. I think he's nice, except he might be mad about something.
He was probably picking up on something. This is Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh. But when we ask which man is a criminal, most kids pointed to the black man. And when we asked which was a teacher, they said,
That one! The guy in the green shirt.
Yeah.
That was the 31st of March. 40 days passed a long time ago. We want to know what our white dogs doing in the black community. That's all. And if they're not going to answer every way to destroy this black community, we want them to call them up police. You can always spend them. We want them to call police. We don't want no fucking white dog in the black community, and in this store in particular. Just not even to accept what we've received the communication. We'll respond. That day they called the head office. They said they will respond. They didn't. And we have a signature. So if you call police, it's good time. Signile, so police. Even if you call police, they must remove these filthy white dogs in this place. Or we'll call for the closing of this shop right as well. We will call. In fact, we can petition the whole of Johannesburg to close this filthy dirty place. Disrespecting black folks. They even pay black people $2,500. What bullshit is that?
Imagine. 2,500 per month. What are you going to do with that?
What bullshit is that?
Bullshit, man. Out of line.
And when we come here, they think Bazo is a police. How can you pay people who stay in Africa 2,500? On top of that, you say what? You sell white dolls. Each time a black person is a caser, they case in a white doll to say other Lungu are superior and black people are inferior. So white black people must accept that the only people who will be paid properly is people who look like this. Because if you look black, black dolls think they are very much ugly and fertile.
Yeah.
Who can buy those ugly black? Abantu abamnyama umsebenzi wepay ukuthi ama-black dolls bagqokeni ngaphandle. Babaqeda they paying peanuts. Umuntu ufana i-2,500 and then you spend 500 on transport.
Imagine.
You pay 1.2 on rent. You've got a baby who's going to crash and pay 400. So you're actually coming here for nothing.
Yeah.
Because you are trained from a get to Nyama is nothing. White people just dominate this place. And they're busy having us with white dogs. This is bullshit.
That she's training with, that she's not going to get along.
I'm just telling you that there's seats.
Now we've told her for the last 5-10 minutes.
I'm telling you that there are seats over there. I'm telling you there are seats over there. There are seats over there.
You said that 27 times. And I've told you every 27 times, I didn't ask you for a seat, ma'am.
I'm just telling you there's seats over there.
Who asked you for a seat? You don't work here?
No, I'm just telling you there's seats over there. You're having a conversation. There are seats
And I'm going to
there.
have a conversation standing right here.
This is the line.
And what?
This is the line. I'm in line.
You're not stupid, you look.
There are seats over
It's
there.
people having conversations
There are
everywhere.
seats over there.
So you see me and him having a conversation.
There are seats over there.
I don't care, ma'am.
I'm just telling you there's seats over
Well,
there.
sit your ass in the seat,
I'm in
ma'am.
line. This is the line.
Well, mind your business. She's in line, she's in line, he's in line. They're having a conversation, they're having a conversation, they're having a conversation. You're not stupid, you look. Find you something to do, ma'am.
Over there.
Sit your ass in the seat then.
I'm in line.
I'm in
line.
Am I talking to you? I'm talking to him. Am I talking to you?
I'm in line.
Well, stand in line, ma'am.
I am in line.
Just in case. I put my bag.
This is the line.
And am I in your way?
I'm in line.
Look at the line. Am I in your way? Am I in your way, ma'am?
I'm just telling you that there are seats
Am
over
I in
there.
your way?
I'm telling you there are seats
I
over there.
put my bags down on purpose.
I'm telling you
because
that there are
I
seats over
promise you, and I put that on you. Leave me and him alone. Well, sit in the seat, ma'am.
There are seats over there.
Well, sit in the seat, ma'am.
There's seats over there.
Sit in the seat, ma'am.
There's a seat there. There's a seat there. There's a seat there.
It's amazing.
There's a seat there.
It's amazing how our conversation, out of everybody else that is in close
everybody else
proximity,
is in here having a conversation.
It's only bothering you.
There are
It's
seats
only,
over there.
It's only bothering you.
There are seats over there.
See, she on his way, ma'am.
There's
You
a
don't
seat
work,
there.
but you don't work here,
There's a
ma'am.
seat there.
If she sits
Well,
here,
sit
what's the
in
difference?
There's a seat there.
Hold on. My question to you is, if she sits here, what does what change does this happen to the conversation?
There's a seat there. There's a seat there. There.
Well, why aren't you sitting in any of these seats?
I already told you I'm in line.
And I told you I'm standing here talking, waiting to get on the same plane you getting on. So what's your problem?
I'm telling you, this is the line, and I'm
not in your way. They're lined up. What does that have to do with you? What does that have to do with you?
This is the line. I'm in line. This is the
I
line.
already told you.
This is the line.
I'm not moving one damn step, and I bet you can't move this. And I bet you
I'm
can't
just
move this
telling you,
200
there's a
pounds.
seat there.
Move me. Part this Red Sea, Moses. Part
There's
it.
a seat there.
Just
There's a seat there.
Just continue to.
Okay.
Yes.
No, actually, we had to move from gate 4 to gate 6. So, yeah. So I asked him, he's in the military. He's telling me about the Army because my daughter is thinking about going to military. She keeps screaming, we need to sit down. I'm 45.
There's seats there.
I didn't ask her anything, ma'am.
Okay, calm down.
There's a seat there and there's a seat there. I'm in line.
Okay, and they're going to be in line, and they can stay
They're
where
not
they
in
want
line.
to.
This is the line.
But I'm not in your way.
But they're not in your way. And he hasn't started boarding yet.
I just
So
told
if
you
you could
there's
just...
a seat there. There's a